Everybody wants to avoid pollution. The problem is, you can't. Cancer risk for children is estimated to be 10 times higher in playgrounds with poured rubber surfaces. In certain ways, the Make America Healthy Again movement is right about the state of our world. Troubles me is that so many of the loudest voices in that field seem to think that the answer lies at the individual level. These piecemeal solutions are no longer enough, if they ever will.
That's why I never use a plastic cutting board.
Material for your playground is EWF, engineered wood fiber.
If we want to reduce our exposure, that means doing something collectively, finding a way to limit pollution at the source. Can we?
So the New York Times used a video of me from almost 2 years ago without asking me. And even though I'm really excited, I have some thoughts. Had the New York Times asked me why I'm making content, and they kind of insinuate that I'm Maha, by the way, which I take a lot of offense to. I started speaking out about this massive plastic pollution problem in the environment and in our bodies. And I did it out of a place of helplessness. I did it because my elected officials had completely failed me. My Republican and Democratic elected officials. My president had failed me. My senators had failed me. Everybody had failed me. And legacy media like the New York Times was failing to communicate the extent of this problem and continuing to do exactly what this video did, was pose a question. It's really bad, but can we do anything? Of course we can. Of course we can. That's why I started speaking out about this. At this point, it is the collective action from our brothers, our sisters, our neighbors, our classmates. That is the only thing that we have left. Now we have an administration that is literally taking the very few protections away that we had before. So I'm sorry, New York Times. I'm glad that you're talking about this topic. Finally, you've done a very poor job of covering this topic and the severity of it, but you need to talk about the real reason why people are taking an individual approach. It is because of the failure of legacy media like you and government action. Saying that individual action isn't enough is like saying your vote doesn't matter when it does. That's how we got to this place to begin with, from apathy and from people feeling helpless. But we are not helpless. And you, New York Times, continue to fail to report on the actual actions that will help people. Just by not using single-use disposable plastics, we can change the trajectory of climate change and the increase of chronic disease that we are seeing in our children and ourselves. We can stop that. But the New York Times doesn't talk about that. They hint at it, but they're not going to actually give the answer. Does it have to do with who's funding you?